Okay, so unlike what we've been doing with the Marvel shows, and I think I did with Star Wars Obi-Wan as well, I'm not going to be doing like spoiler-filled reviews of each episode here because, well, I'll get to it. But instead, I'm just going to do what I do when I review like a comic book movie or another Star Wars thing, where I'm going to give my overall thoughts, and there's just going to be a big spoiler section, and then we'll wrap things up. Okay? Okay. Um, Anyway, episodes 4 through 6 of Andor, which are Andalari, The Axe Never Forgets, or no, The Axe Forgets, and The Eye. I'm gonna have to give them a C again. There are things about the show I like, and I want to like it more than I do. Unfortunately, there's just some horrendous pacing, and unfortunately, while characters are not necessarily performed bad, the characters themselves are just not particularly interesting, and the few characters who are barely ever dealt with. They just seem to kind of be spinning their wheels in place, and it's not really panning out well for it at all. So, yeah, like I said, we can't get any more into it without spoiling, so we'll have to go into the spoiler section for that. But yeah, again, it's not bad, but it's not really appointment viewing, and it's not really binge-worthy at all either. I've had to do that as well. So that's why right now Andor is still getting a C.
Escape pod landing. Where am I?
It's the new Star Wars Land of the Jawas that you put together. Action figures sold separately. You can move the action lever and make the Jawa capture R2-D2.
R2, are you all right? What are they doing to you?
You can raise the elevator and make R2-D2 disappear into the sandcrawler.
Hang on, R2. I'm right behind you. Me too.
Kenner's new Star Wars Land of the Jawas. Action figures each sold separately.
Okay, again, this is the big spoiler section, so skip to here if you wish to avoid everything, okay? Although, admittedly, in this case, there's not really too much to avoid because nothing really happens in these episodes. Like, I mean, things happen, but it takes a long time for those things to happen. I mean, early on, I think it starts out pretty well. I mean, we get Luthenrael and Cassian Andor escaping, much like they did at the end of the third episode. They're up in space, and again, Luthen is constantly trying to sell Andor on joining the Rebel Alliance. You know, be something greater than yourself. You know, why die for nothing when you can maybe, you know, what's better, dying for something or living for nothing, or whatever it is. I can't remember the exact statement. And he says, look, you do this one job, I'll pay off your debts, and you can see where you go from there. And he says, I want you to participate in taking a payroll from an Imperial armory. I'm trying to think of it's on this planet Alderaan. And so Andor reluctantly agrees. He takes his adopted father's name of Clem as an alias. Luthen also gives him a Kyber stone, which is supposedly worth like 30,000 Imperial credits. And from there, he says, look, you know, if you get into a situation where you need to, you know, barter with this. And, you know, he drops him off with another burgeoning member of the Rebel Alliance named Vel Sartha, who's, you know, leading this whole, basically, well, she's not quite leading it. There's another person involved, but yeah, I'm trying to remember all their names because unfortunately, like, again, they're rules, but they're just not particularly, like, names are just not there for me at all. Again, maybe it's because of the events of the last week, but yeah, it doesn't really lend itself to much. Like, okay, it's part of a group, basically, this gang of thieves, and Andor has, like I said, there's Vel Sartha, there's Skeen, who gives this weird, untrustworthy air about him. There's a kid whose name I can't remember. He's the young idealist who actually seems to really kind of fervently believe in the rebellion, to the point that he actually has a manifesto. There's a medic who is a woman. Cinda, I think is her name, or Cinna. Jeez. Yeah, see again. And then there turns out they have an ex-stormtrooper who is, I think, Vel's lover. Other than that, I can't really remember. And it turns out they actually have someone on the inside of the Empire. It was this lieutenant who's basically, in this Imperial colony, they basically swept in and are moving the indigenous people off, but they're still allowing them to participate in this one religious ceremony to sort of say, like, hey, we're not really that bad. But they talk about, like, the indigenous people have to make this pilgrimage from like 10,000 or something like miles, and once there was like 50,000 of them, and now there's only like a couple hundred, because along the path the Empire keeps setting up these little establishments like bars and hotels and stuff like that. Like, hey, wouldn't you rather just stay here? It's easier, and stuff like slowly weeding it out. And yeah, that like I said, that's an interesting angle to take. In fact, that's sort of the main problem with this. Cassian Andor by himself is not a bad character, but other than him joining the Rebel Alliance, there's nothing to really go with. There's nothing of interest here. To be honest, the more interesting characters are the Empire characters. I want to know about these, Imperial bureaucrats who don't really fight for much, but don't seem to really have much they don't necessarily support the Empire, but it's like, this is how I'm making a living, this is how I provide. We'll get to another angle on that later, too. And, just like, I'm not saying make them good guys, but at least make it sort of like, hey, we're just doing our jobs, like, it's not necessarily a bad idea to just explore territory like that. Like I said, one of the reasons why I like Rogue One is because they showed light on members of the Rebel Alliance who weren't necessarily good people. They said, these are the people who are going to set off bombs and kill a whole bunch of people, including kids, if they need to do that. So yeah, you're kind of getting the idea of, hey, there's moral gray zones everywhere. But with this, it's just boring. Like, again, watching Andor have to ingratiate himself to this group who don't really trust him, and then still not really trust him, just isn't interesting. Exactly. And I think the other problem, too, is it's way too padded out. Like, this is maybe 2 episodes worth of material. They pushed out to practically 3. Like, so like the 6th episode is them basically doing this robbery, and they're, like I said, but like the subplots are way more interesting. Like, we get a glimpse into Luthen Ryle's actual existence. He's like an antiquity art dealer type who is working with Senator Mon Mothma. You would probably remember her from Return of the Jedi. I guess is her that character's big appearance, where she's the one who addresses the rebels before they head towards the second Death Star and Endor's forest moon. See, I know my Star Wars, and yeah, that's again where that character's probably a bit more prominently known. But yeah, here she's a senator. You see, her family relationship is kind of getting strained a little bit because of her job as a senator, but she's also sort of stealing money from the Empire to fund the rebellion. She's delegating to these various charitable organizations who aren't exactly charitable organizations, is what I'm saying. Like I said, that's interesting. Like, Lucien Ryle is an interesting character. But, like, that's the stuff that's interesting to me. Like, again, the character from the first 3 episodes, Cyril, this mining company investigator who, because of his bungling of this Andor case, is fired because the Empire basically comes in and takes over the company. Says, look, the Empire said, look, you screwed up so many times. We can't trust you to operate independently. We're taking you over. Oh, and you, yeah, get out. So you see him fired, and he goes to live. He has to go back to live with his mother, who has to call in a favor with an uncle or something to try to get some type of new career for him. And, that's the interesting point. Again, that was way more entertaining to me than again Andor plotting a heist. And it's also again getting into this Imperial. I'm trying to think of it's ISB, and it's Imperial Investigators Bureau of they're sort of the investigative staff now of the Empire. Not quite the police force in the strictest sense of the term, but basically, again, they're kind of trying to focus on what was going on with this mining company failure. What was the deal with, why was Andor talking to this guy? What were they trying to deal? Oh, it's a stolen Imperial part. So that brings into the case this character who looks really prominent named Miro is her last name. I'm trying to think what the first name is now. Just a sec. Deidre Miro. That's it. Deidre Miro. Dedra. Yeah. Again, sometimes some of these names are just really hard to keep track of. Deidre Miro, and I'm trying to figure out what exactly her angle is, because it's like she seems hell-bent on finding just this one part that Andor had in his possession, or possibly to track down Andor himself. I'm not sure. But there's also some gobbledygook about, she's trying to further her career. Sorry, my phone went off. I don't know if you heard that. She's trying to further her career and improve her societal standing. And what? Huh? This character appears a lot in the marketing, so you know she's supposed to be important, but why is she important? I just don't get it. So yeah, you get the point why I'm having these problems. And again, it's not entirely bad. Once, the sixth episode is all about the heist, and once that gets going, it actually does get better. They go through everything. They wind up taking the commandant of this armory hostage. They tie his family up. Some of them get killed. One of them has to willingly sacrifice themselves. The kid gets killed when they're trying to escape up through this meteor shower, and they're trying to jump to hyperspace, but part of this giant payload breaks free and just smacks into them, and they have to keep them conscious long enough so they could input these coordinates so they could jump to hyperspace, but they have to go to a doctor, some black market doctor, and he dies, and then it turns out the guy who didn't seem very trustworthy throughout the whole thing was not trustworthy and tried to make off with their 80 million credits that they stole. Tried to get Andor in on a halvesy split, but Andor just shoots him and basically says, "Look, I'm done. I'll take the 30,000 I was promised, and I'm just going to go." And that's kind of how it ends. Again, just interesting ideas, but not really good execution at all. And like I said, I think the main problem is this thing is just way too padded out. This is the thing that should have been 6 episodes long, not Ms. Marvel, not She-Hulk is maybe the best example since that's 9 episodes long. But you get the idea. Exactly. This just, it's not bad, but like I said, it's just not working right. So yeah, that's why I'm giving it a C.
Now from Kenner's Star Wars collection, it's the Patrol Dewback action figures sold separately.
Let's find the droids, Dewback. Hide, R2!
You can imagine you're a stormtrooper on the Patrol Dewback, searching for R2-D2 and C-3PO.
Look both ways, Dewback.
By moving his tail, you can make Dewback's head turn left and right. You can move his legs, too.
He found us! Good work, Dewback.
The new Star Wars Patrol Dewback from the Star Wars collection. Action figures each sold separately by Kenner.
Time from now, in a kingdom very, very near, R2-2, hurry. The passengers are boarding.
Prepare yourselves
Welcome aboard.
for the ultimate Disneyland thrill attraction from the imagination of Disney and George Lucas. Because now, the adventure is real. Star Tours at Disneyland. In all the universe, there is no greater thrill. Opening January 9th.
Okay, so the next video is going to be for the finale of She-Hulk, the last 4 episodes, because I already made a thumbnail that says finale and I didn't want to go back and make more. After that, it's Halloween Ends, and again, I'm house sitting this week, so I'm bouncing around between places and trying to get everything done as quickly as I can, but because of that, this review is going up on Thursday. She-Hulk will probably be up on Friday. Halloween Ends will be up on Saturday. After that, it'll be another Madden Week preview. Then it's then it's Black Adam is the next movie after that. And then it's going to be the random trade review on Star Trek Dr. McCoy. See you all next time. Hey guys, remember you can request a movie or a television series for me to review at my Patreon at patreon.com/CPTime for Cat Productions. Also, remember to like the video, comment, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so that you can be alerted to further videos.